The champagne cork hit our bedroom ceiling with enough force to leave a dent. Through the walk-in closet where I was supposedly organizing shoes, I watched my husband Marcus raise the bottle in triumph, his brother Devon clapping him on the back like they'd just won the lottery. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. To getting away with it, Marcus declared, foam spilling onto our Persian rug, the one I'd tracked down from a dealer in Istanbul 3 years ago during a surveillance job that took me across 4 continents. Devon's laugh was sharp and ugly. Jesus, Mark, keep your voice down. She might hear. So what? Marcus took a long swig straight from the bottle. She'll never prove it. Trust me, my wife couldn't investigate her way out of a paper bag. I adjusted the tiny recording device hidden in the decorative shoebox on the top shelf, making sure it was capturing every word. The irony was so thick I could taste it. For the past 6 years, Marcus had believed I worked in administrative consulting, a deliberately vague job description that explained my irregular hours, frequent travel, and comfortable income. What he didn't know was that I ran Harper Investigations, one of the most discreet and successful private investigation firms on the East Coast. "You're sure the money's clean?" Devon asked, his voice dropping lower. I watched through the crack in the door as he paced our bedroom, all nervous energy and darting eyes. "Because if she finds out, she won't." Marcus sprawled across our bed, still clutching the champagne. "Come on, Devon. It's Elena. The woman still doesn't know how to check our bank statements online. She thinks I'm brilliant with money. She trusts me." Trust. The word hit like a physical blow. He was right about that part, at least until 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, when a client named Richard Chen had walked into my office with a manila folder and a problem. His company, Chen Digital Solutions, had been hemorrhaging money for months. The forensic accountant he'd hired had traced the leak to someone with intimate knowledge of their systems, someone who'd been systematically siphoning funds through a complex series of shell companies and cryptocurrency transactions. The name on the final transfer receipts? Marcus Hayes. My husband. I'd sat in my office, the file spread across my desk, and felt my entire world tilt on its axis. For 10 minutes, I couldn't breathe. Then my training kicked in. Emotion was the enemy of good investigation. I needed facts, evidence, patterns. I needed to know everything. $500,000, Devon was saying now, his voice tinged with awe and fear in equal measure. "I still can't believe you pulled it off. $500,000 is just the start." Marcus sat up, his eyes gleaming with an ambition I'd never seen before. Or maybe I had, and I'd chosen not to see it. "Chen's company is worth 50 times that. Once this blows over and the heat dies down, there's more. So much more." My phone buzzed silently in my pocket, a text from my associate, James Park, no relation to the James in the reference document, and very much aware of who I really was. Audio from the restaurant confirmed. "Devon Hayes was the inside man, full conversation recorded. Also, found the offshore accounts in Cayman. Paper trail leads exactly where you thought." I allowed myself the smallest smile. While Marcus and Devon were celebrating upstairs, they had no idea I'd spent the last 3 weeks building a case so airtight that even the best defense attorney in the country couldn't crack it. I'd traced every transaction, identified every shell company, documented every lie. I'd followed Devon for 12 days, photographed his meetings with Marcus, recorded their phone conversations through legal wiretaps approved by a judge who happened to owe me a favor. In my line of work, you collect favors like some people collect stamps. "What about Elena's money?" Devon asked, and I froze. "I mean, she makes decent money with that consulting thing, right? Is it separate?" "Prenup," Marcus said, and I could hear the smirk in his voice. "Her money is her money. Mine is mine. She insisted on it before we got married, actually. Thought she was being so smart, protecting herself. He laughed. Little did she know she was protecting me. When this blows up, and it will eventually, none of it touches her accounts. She's completely insulated. It's perfect. My jaw clenched. The prenup had been my insurance policy, drawn up by the best family law attorney in the state. At the time, I'd told Marcus it was just sensible planning. In reality, I'd seen too many cases where financial entanglement became a weapon. I'd wanted clear boundaries. Now those boundaries were about to save me from being implicated in his crimes. You really think she'll never figure it out? Devon pressed. She seems smarter than you give her credit for. Devon, I've been married to her for 6 years. She's sweet, she's kind, she's gorgeous. But let's be real. She's naive. She believes everything I tell her. Last month I told her I needed to work late 4 nights in a row. You know what she did? Made me a care package with snacks and coffee. Didn't question it once. Those 4 nights, I'd been in Chicago, surveilling a serial insurance fraudster who'd made the mistake of trying to hide in a city where I had contacts in every major institution. I'd caught him, collected my fee, and come home to Marcus, who'd kissed me and asked about my boring week at the office. The care package had been real, though. I'd left it on the kitchen counter before I'd left for the airport, knowing he'd find it and it would reinforce his image of me as the doting, clueless wife. What about her family? Devon asked. Her brother's a cop, right? Chicago PD, homicide detective. We barely see him. Marcus's voice held an edge now. Elena's not close with them. Some falling out years ago, she never talks about it. And anyway, why would she go to them? She doesn't even know there's anything to investigate. That falling out had been carefully manufactured. My brother Thomas knew exactly what I did for a living. He'd helped me establish my cover identity, fed me information when I needed it, and maintained the fiction of a family estrangement to keep my civilian life separate from my professional one. Our falling out had supposedly happened over my choice to marry Marcus, a man Thomas had loudly proclaimed he didn't trust. Turns out his instincts had been better than mine. I still think you're playing with fire, Devon muttered. Chen's going to figure it out eventually. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Let him. By the time he does, the money will be so clean and so far away, there'll be nothing anyone can do about it. Marcus stood up, stretching. Come on, let's go grab dinner. There's that new steakhouse downtown. My treat. Well, Chen's treat, technically. They laughed together, 2 brothers united in their criminal conspiracy, and headed toward the door. I waited in the closet until I heard their footsteps on the stairs, then emerged, pulling out my phone. A quick text to James. They're heading out. Tail them. I want documentation of every dollar they spend tonight. Another text, this one to my lawyer, Patricia Godwin. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., time to move. And finally, one to Richard Chen. Thursday, 2 p.m., conference room B. Bring your attorney and your company's CFO. I'll bring everything you need. I sat down on the edge of the bed, on the exact spot where Marcus had been lounging minutes before, and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the anger, the cold, clear rage that settled in my chest like ice. 6 years of marriage. 6 years of coming home to him, of sharing meals and making love, and building what I'd thought was a life together. 6 years of carefully maintaining my cover, of protecting him from the darker parts of my work, of keeping him safe in his bubble of ignorance about who I really was. And all that time, he'd been planning to rob his employer, had been seeing me as a convenient alibi, had been thinking of me as naive, stupid, easy to manipulate. She'll never prove it, he'd said. I pulled out my tablet and opened the encrypted files I'd been building. 3 weeks of work, Hundreds of hours of investigation, surveillance footage, bank records, testimony from Devon's coworkers at Chen Digital, records of Marcus's trips to the Cayman Islands that he'd told me were conferences. I'd proven it. I'd proven all of it. My phone rang. Thomas, my brother. I answered on the second ring. "Elle, you okay?" "I'm fine." "That's your operative voice. You're not fine." He paused. "Is it happening? The thing with Marcus?" "Thursday. It all comes out Thursday." "You need me there?" "No. But thank you." I stared at the champagne stain on the rug. "I've got this." "You always do." His voice softened. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know you loved him." Did I? I thought I had. But how do you love someone who only exists as a carefully constructed fiction? Marcus thought he'd been deceiving me, but I'd been deceiving him from the start. We'd been living in a house of cards, each of us hiding our true selves, and now it was all coming down. "I loved who I thought he was," I said finally. "Turns out that person never existed." After we hung up, I walked through the house, seeing it differently now. The artwork on the walls, the furniture, the expensive electronics. I'd paid for most of it. My investigation business was lucrative. I specialized in high-stakes corporate cases, insurance fraud, and asset recovery. I had clients across the country, contacts in law enforcement, judges, and financial institutions. I'd built something real, something I was proud of. And Marcus had thought I was too stupid to balance a checkbook. I stopped in my home office, the one room Marcus never entered, respecting my need for a space of my own. He thought I used it for administrative work. In reality, this was my command center. 3 monitors hidden behind a decorative panel, a safe containing weapons and surveillance equipment, files on every case I'd worked in the past decade. I pulled up the complete file on Marcus Hayes and Devon Hayes. 57 pages of documentation, every meeting, every transaction, every lie. I'd even found the burner phone Marcus kept hidden in his gym bag, the one he used to coordinate with Devon. I'd cloned it 3 days after discovering its existence. There was a backup plan too. One I'd put in place the day I confirmed my suspicions. If Marcus tried to run, if he tried to hide assets, if he did anything that might compromise the investigation, I had fail-safes. Frozen accounts, flags at airports. A friendly FBI agent named Monica Santos who owed me for a case I'd helped her close last year, a case involving human trafficking that had resulted in the rescue of 16 people. You collect favors. You build networks. You prepare for every contingency. It's what makes you good at this job. My phone buzzed again. James. "They're at Morton's Steakhouse. Just ordered the most expensive bottle of wine on the menu. Taking photos." Devon looks nervous. Marcus looks like he's already planning his next score. I typed back. "Good. Document everything. Dinner's on Chen, apparently. Let's make sure he gets his money's worth of evidence." The next morning, I woke up alone. Marcus had texted around midnight, staying at Devon's place. Too much to drink. Didn't want to drive. Another lie. James had followed them to Devon's apartment, but Marcus had left again at 2 a.m., heading to an address in the warehouse district that I'd identified as belonging to one of his shell companies. I'd let him go. Whatever he was doing, it would only add to the evidence. I dressed carefully that morning. Not my usual casual work-from-home attire, but a tailored navy suit, silk blouse, professional heels. I pulled my hair back into a sleek bun and applied makeup with precision. I needed to look like exactly what I was, a woman who had her shit together. At 8:45 a.m., I walked into Patricia Godwin's law office in downtown Boston. Patricia was waiting, coffee ready, her expression a mix of sympathy and professional focus. "Elena, you ready for this?" "I've been ready since I opened that file 3 weeks ago." I sat down across from her desk. "What do I need to know?" Divorce will be straightforward with the prenup. Massachusetts is a no-fault state, but we can pursue fault grounds if you want to make a statement. Given his criminal activities, I'd recommend it. Sends a message. Do it. Criminal charges are another matter. The FBI will want to talk to you, given that you're married to one of the suspects. But with your evidence and your professional reputation, you'll be fine. You might even end up as a witness for the prosecution. That's fine. Elena, Patricia leaned forward. Are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. Your marriage is over. Marcus will know you've been investigating him. Your cover will be blown. I thought about Marcus's words. She'll never prove it. I'm sure. At 9 a.m., Patricia made the first call to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. By 9:30, we had an appointment with Agent Monica Santos for that afternoon. At 10, Patricia filed the divorce papers. At 11, we met with Richard Chen's attorney to coordinate the corporate response. By noon, the machine was in motion, and there was no stopping it. I drove home, expecting an empty house. Instead, Marcus's car was in the driveway. I felt my pulse quicken, not with fear, but with the sharp awareness that comes before a confrontation. He was in the kitchen, making coffee, still in yesterday's clothes. He looked up when I walked in, and for a moment, something flickered across his face. Guilt? Worry? It was gone too quickly to read. Hey, babe, sorry about last night. Devon and I got carried away. It's fine, I said, setting down my purse. I was still in my suit, still in my armor. He noticed. Whoa, you look amazing. Job interview? The question was so absurd I almost laughed. Something like that. That's great. I keep telling you, you're wasted in admin work. You should aim higher. You're smart. You're capable. He smiled, and I wondered how I'd ever found that smile charming. I believe in you. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. He believed in me, as long as I stayed beneath him, as long as I remained manageable. Actually, Marcus, I need to talk to you about something. Sure. What's up? He poured his coffee, completely relaxed, completely unsuspecting. Richard Chen contacted me a few weeks ago. The coffee cup stopped halfway to his lips. What? Richard Chen. Your employer. He had some concerns about financial irregularities at the company. He wanted to hire someone to investigate. Marcus's face had gone pale. Elena, what are you... And I took the case. Because you see, I'm not actually an administrative consultant. I'm a private investigator. I own Harper Investigations. Have for 8 years. The coffee cup hit the floor, ceramic shattering, brown liquid spreading across the tile. You're... What? A private investigator, specializing in financial crimes, corporate espionage, asset recovery. I'm quite good at it, actually. Good enough that I was able to trace every penny you and your brother stole from Chen Digital. Every transaction, every shell company, every offshore account. Marcus stared at me like I'd grown a second head. That's not... You can't be... Can't I? I pulled out my phone, opened the secure folder, and turned the screen toward him. Here's a recording of you and Devon from last night, discussing the theft. Here's the paper trail linking you to 13 shell companies in 5 countries. Here's photographic evidence of Devon accessing Chen's financial systems using stolen credentials. Here's... Stop. His voice was barely a whisper. Just stop. You said I'd never prove it. I put my phone away. You said I was naive, that I couldn't investigate my way out of a paper bag. So I thought I should correct that misconception. He sank into a chair, his face ashen. Elena, I can explain. Don't. I don't actually care about your explanations. I leaned against the counter, feeling strangely calm. At 2 p.m. today, I'm meeting with Richard Chen and his attorneys. I'll be presenting my complete findings. At 3 p.m., I have a meeting with the FBI. By 4 p.m., there will likely be warrants issued for your arrest and Devon's. You're turning me in. Not a question. A realization. I'm doing my job. You're a criminal. I'm an investigator. This is what happens. I'm your husband. You were my husband. I filed for divorce this morning. You should be receiving the papers sometime this afternoon. I'd say I'm sorry, but I don't believe in apologizing for doing the right thing. Marcus stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. For a second, I wondered if he might try something physical. My hand moved unconsciously toward my phone, where I could trigger a silent alarm connected directly to Thomas's precinct. But Marcus didn't move toward me. He moved toward the door, his movements jerky and panicked. "You've destroyed my life," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "No. You destroyed your life when you decided to steal $500,000. I'm just the one who documented it." He left without another word, the door slamming behind him hard enough to rattle the windows. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by broken ceramic and spilled coffee, and felt absolutely nothing. No sadness, no regret, no sense of loss. Just the cold satisfaction of a job well done. My phone rang. James. "Boss, Marcus just tore out of your driveway like his ass was on fire. You want me to follow?" "Please. He might lead you to assets we haven't found yet." "On it. By the way, you told him?" "I told him." "How'd he take it?" I looked at the mess on the floor. "About as well as expected." At 2 p.m., I walked into the conference room at Chen Digital Solutions. Richard Chen was there, along with his CFO, his attorney, and two people I recognized from the company's board of directors. I set my laptop on the table and connected it to the projection screen. "Thank you for meeting with me. Over the past 3 weeks, I've been conducting an investigation into the financial irregularities at your company. I'm pleased to report that I've identified the source of the theft, recovered the majority of the stolen assets, and compiled evidence sufficient for criminal prosecution." For the next hour, I walked them through everything: the paper trail, the recordings, the photographic evidence, Devon's role as the inside man, Marcus's role as the architect, the shell companies, the offshore accounts, the cryptocurrency transactions designed to obscure the money trail. They sat in silence, absorbing it all. The total amount stolen was $547,000, I concluded. "I've worked with federal authorities to freeze the offshore accounts. You should be able to recover approximately 93% of the stolen funds. The remaining 7% was spent, mostly on luxury goods and a down payment on a property in the Cayman Islands under a false name." "This is comprehensive," Richard Chen said slowly. "Incredibly comprehensive. How did you—" "I'm very good at my job," I said simply. "And I had strong motivation to be thorough." His attorney leaned forward. "Mrs. Hayes, Ms. Harper, please, or Elena. I'm filing for divorce." "Ms. Harper, this must have been difficult. Investigating your own husband." "It was necessary." I met his eyes. "And for what it's worth, I'm sorry that your company was targeted. You hired Marcus in good faith. You didn't deserve this." "Neither did you," Richard said quietly. I didn't respond to that. What could I say? That I'd married a man I'd never really known? That I'd been so busy maintaining my cover identity that I'd failed to see who he really was? At 3 p.m., I met with Agent Monica Santos at the FBI field office. She'd brought two other agents, both from the Financial Crimes Division. "Elena, good to see you, though I wish it was under better circumstances." "Monica, thanks for making time." "Are you kidding? When you said you had evidence of corporate theft, shell companies, and conspiracy, you had my full attention. When you said it was your husband, you had the attention of everyone in this office." I spent another hour walking them through the evidence, answering questions, providing copies of everything I'd compiled. They were professional, thorough, and clearly impressed with the quality of the investigation. "This is better than most cases we build ourselves," one of the agents admitted. "You've done our job for us." "I hope that means this will move quickly. I'd rather not spend the next 2 years tangled up in legal proceedings." "Given the evidence, I'd say we'll have arrests within 24 hours, Monica said. "Both Marcus Hayes and Devon Hayes. We'll also be looking at charging them with wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. We're talking serious federal time if they're convicted." "Good." She studied me carefully. "Elena, I have to ask. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "That's what you said about the trafficking case last year, right before you broke down in my office." "Had I?" That case had been brutal. 16 victims, most of them teenagers. I'd worked it for 3 months, barely sleeping, following leads across 4 states. When it finally broke, when we'd raided the warehouse and found them all alive, I'd walked into Monica's office to deliver my final report and completely fallen apart. "This is different," I said. "Is it? You just destroyed your marriage and sent your husband to federal prison." "He destroyed our marriage when he decided to become a criminal. I'm just the one who caught him." Monica didn't look convinced, but she let it go. "Okay, but if you need to talk, or if you need anything, call me, day or night." By the time I left the FBI office, it was after 5 p.m. I drove home in rush hour traffic, my mind strangely blank. The adrenaline that had carried me through the day was fading, leaving behind an exhaustion so deep it felt like gravity had doubled. I walked into my house, not our house anymore, and stopped in the entryway. It was too quiet. For 6 years, this had been a home. There had been laughter, conversations, the mundane rhythms of daily life. Marcus's shoes by the door, his jacket on the coat rack, the smell of his coffee in the morning. Now it was just a building, a space I occupied, empty and echoing. I walked up to the bedroom, changed out of my suit, and stood in the closet where I'd hidden yesterday, listening to my husband plot his next crime. The recording device was still there, nestled in its decorative box. I pulled it out, turned it off, and added it to the evidence box I'd been building. My phone buzzed. Thomas. I heard through channels. FBI's moving tonight. They're going to arrest Marcus at Devon's apartment." "Good. You want me to be there when it happens?" "No, I don't need to see it." "Okay. Then come over here. You shouldn't be alone right now." "Thomas." "I'm not asking, Elle. Get in your car and come to my place. Sarah's making dinner. You're eating with us, and then you're sleeping in our guest room. Tomorrow you can go back to being invincible. Tonight, you're going to let your family take care of you." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I was fine, that I didn't need anyone, that I could handle this alone. But the truth was, I was so tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of being the one who always knew what to do. Tired of holding all these pieces together. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll be there in 30 minutes." I grabbed an overnight bag, threw in some clothes and toiletries, and walked back downstairs. On the kitchen counter, I saw Marcus's phone. His real phone, not the burner. He must have left it in his panic. I picked it up, unlocked it with the code I'd learned weeks ago during my investigation, and opened his messages. There were dozens from Devon, increasingly frantic as the day went on. "Mark, we need to talk. Something's wrong with the accounts. They're frozen. Call me now. The FBI is here. Mark, where are you?" And then, at 4:47 p.m., they arrested me. They have everything. Bank records, recordings, everything. How did they know? How did they know? Marcus had never responded. I set the phone back down and walked out, locking the door behind me. How did they know? Devon had asked. Because I'd told them. Because I was good at my job. Because Marcus had made the fatal mistake of underestimating me. She'll never prove it, he'd said. But I had. And now, driving toward my brother's house through the darkening evening, I let myself finally feel the weight of it. The betrayal, the loss, the grief for a marriage that had never been real. Tomorrow I would be professional Elena Harper again, the investigator who never missed a detail. Tomorrow I would close this case and move on to the next one. But tonight I would be just Elena, a woman whose husband had lied to her, a woman who'd been forced to choose between love and justice, and who'd chosen justice because that was who she was. My phone rang as I pulled into Thomas's driveway, an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but investigator instincts die hard. Hello? Elena. Marcus's voice, tight with rage and fear. You did this. You destroyed everything. Where are you, Marcus? Like I'd tell you. You'd just send your FBI friends after me. They're already after you. There's a warrant for your arrest. Turning yourself in would be the smart move. Smart? You want to talk to me about smart? He laughed bitterly. I thought I was so clever. I thought I had it all figured out. And all this time, you were... He broke off. Who are you? Really? I'm exactly who I've always been. You just never bothered to look. That's not true. I loved you. You loved your idea of me, the naive, trusting wife who'd never question you. But that person never existed, Marcus. She was a role I played. So what? This was all fake? Our entire marriage? I thought about that. No, I don't think it was. I think we were both playing roles. You were playing the successful executive, hiding your criminal activities. I was playing the clueless wife, hiding my career. We were both lying, Marcus. The difference is, your lies hurt people. Mine caught you. Silence on the other end. They're going to send me to prison, he said finally. Yes, probably for a long time. And you're okay with that? You can just move on? Like the last 6 years meant nothing? Could I? I honestly didn't know yet. The last 6 years meant something, I said. They taught me to trust my instincts, to pay attention to the warning signs, to never again let my personal feelings compromise my professional judgment. That's cold, Elena. Maybe, but it's honest. I paused. For what it's worth. Marcus, I did love you. Or at least, I loved who I thought you were. I'm sorry it turned out this way. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you don't sound sorry at all. He hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car, staring at Thomas's front door. Light spilled out from the windows, warm and welcoming. Inside, my brother and sister-in-law were waiting. Family, people who knew me, really knew me, and loved me anyway. Marcus was right about one thing. I didn't sound sorry, because I wasn't. I was angry. I was hurt. I was disappointed. But I wasn't sorry for doing my job. I wasn't sorry for bringing a criminal to justice. And I wasn't sorry for being exactly who I was. Elena Harper, private investigator, who just closed one of the most personal cases of her career. I got out of the car and walked to the door. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The media would probably get wind of the story. There would be questions, scrutiny, maybe even threats from Marcus or people who thought I'd betrayed him. But tonight, I was going to eat dinner with my family. I was going to let myself be vulnerable. I was going to sleep without the weight of secrets pressing down on me. And tomorrow, I would begin the work of rebuilding my life. Not as Marcus's wife. Not as a woman playing a role. Just as Elena Harper. Finally, completely, myself. Thomas opened the door before I could knock, pulling me into a hug that felt like coming home. Hey sis, come on in. You've had one hell of a day. I leaned into his embrace, letting myself be held, and thought about Marcus's question. Who was I, really? I was a private investigator, a sister, a friend, a woman who'd built a successful business from nothing, someone who could track a money trail across 3 continents and still make time for family dinner. I was someone who'd married a man without fully knowing him, and who'd been forced to investigate him when he'd crossed the line. I was someone who chose justice over comfort, truth over convenience, and my own integrity over a marriage built on lies. That's who I was. And as I walked into Thomas's house, into the warmth and light and normalcy of family, I realized something else. I was someone who would be okay. Not today, maybe, not tomorrow, but eventually. Because I'd survived worse than a lying husband. I'd survived building a business in a male-dominated field. I'd survived cases that would give most people nightmares. I'd survived by being smart, thorough, and utterly relentless in pursuit of the truth. This was just one more thing to survive. And I would. Marcus had said I'd never prove it. But I'd done more than prove it. I'd won. The smell of Sarah's lasagna filled Thomas's kitchen, warm and comforting in a way I hadn't realized I needed. My sister-in-law moved around the space with practiced efficiency, setting out plates while Thomas opened a bottle of wine. "Red okay?" he asked, already pouring. "Or would you prefer something stronger?" "Red's fine." I accepted the glass, feeling the weight of the day settle into my bones. "Thank you for this. Both of you." Sarah squeezed my shoulder as she passed. "Your family, Elle. You never have to thank us for showing up." We ate dinner with the kind of comfortable conversation that only comes from years of knowing each other. They didn't press me for details, didn't ask how I was feeling. They just were there, present, solid. It was exactly what I needed. My phone buzzed halfway through dinner. Monica Santos. "Sorry," I said, stepping away from the table. "I need to take this." Monica's voice was crisp, professional. "Elena, both suspects are in custody. Marcus Hayes was picked up at a motel near the airport. Looks like he was planning to run. Devon Hayes is cooperating, already giving statements." "Devon's talking?" "Singing like a canary. He's terrified, throwing Marcus under the bus at every opportunity. Says it was all Marcus's idea, that he was coerced, that he didn't know how serious it was." She paused. "It's not going to help him much, but it's giving us additional confirmation of everything you found." I should have felt satisfaction. Victory. Instead, I just felt tired. "What about Marcus?" "Lawyered up immediately, not saying a word. But with the evidence you provided and Devon's testimony, we don't need his cooperation. The case is solid, Elena. You did good work." After we hung up, I stood in Thomas's hallway for a long moment, staring at nothing. Marcus was in custody. It was really happening. The man I'd shared a bed with for 6 years was sitting in a federal holding cell, probably in an orange jumpsuit, facing decades in prison. "Elle?" Thomas appeared in the doorway. "You okay?" "They arrested him. Both of them." He nodded slowly. "How do you feel about that?" "I don't know." I ran a hand through my hair. I keep thinking I should feel something more. Sad, guilty, something. But mostly I just feel empty. That's shock. It'll hit later. He guided me back to the kitchen. "Come on." Sarah made tiramisu. I tried to eat the dessert, but it tasted like nothing. Everything tasted like nothing. Sarah and Thomas exchanged glances, the kind of wordless communication that comes from years of marriage. Real marriage, built on honesty and trust. The kind I'd thought I had. "I'm going to head to bed," I said finally. "I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be complicated." Complicated didn't begin to cover it. I woke at 6 a.m. to my phone exploding with notifications. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages, 6 voicemails. The first headline hit me like a punch to the gut. Local woman investigates own husband in major corporate theft case. Someone had leaked it. The story was everywhere. Local news, national outlets, even a few international wire services had picked it up. My name, Marcus's name, photos of both of us, including our wedding photo that had somehow been pulled from social media. I scrolled through the articles, my stomach sinking with each one. Private investigator brings down husband in $500,000 fraud. Wife turns tables on thieving spouse. She said, "I do," then said, "I'm turning you in." Most of them were relatively factual, sticking to the basic details of the case, but a few had gone tabloid, speculating about our marriage, my motives, whether I'd known all along. One article, in particular, made my blood boil. Sources close to the couple say Elena Harper may have been aware of her husband's activities for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Questions remain about her true motivations. Was this justice or revenge? God damn it, I muttered, throwing my phone onto the bed. A knock at the door. Sarah, holding a cup of coffee. Saw the news. You want company or solitude? Company. Definitely company. She came in, sitting on the edge of the bed. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Tell that to the internet. I showed her some of the headlines. Half of them are calling me a hero. The other half are calling me a vindictive bitch who entrapped my own husband. The internet is garbage, you know this. She sipped her own coffee. The people who matter know the truth. Marcus stole money. You caught him. End of story. If only it were that simple. My phone rang. Patricia Godwin, my attorney. Elena, I'm assuming you've seen the news. Hard to miss. We need to talk strategy. This media attention changes things. Marcus's attorney is going to use this, claim you've poisoned the jury pool, argue that you conducted an illegal investigation because of personal bias. Everything I did was legal. I had proper authorization, court-approved warrants where necessary, and I followed every protocol. I know that. You know that. But we need to make sure the court knows that. I'm scheduling a press conference for this afternoon. You're going to make a statement, answer a few questions, and then we're done talking to the media. No interviews, no commentary. Understood? Understood. After we hung up, I showered and dressed in another professional suit. Charcoal gray this time, with a white blouse. Armor for battle. I stared at my reflection, barely recognizing the woman looking back at me. 24 hours ago, I'd been Elena Harper, invisible private investigator. Now I was a headline, a story, public property. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. You destroyed him. I hope you're proud of yourself. I deleted it without responding. Then came another. Gold-digging bitch, you set him up from the start. And another. How does it feel to ruin someone's life? Does it make you feel powerful? I turned off notifications and called James Park. Boss. Hell of a morning, huh? That's one way to put it. I need you to do something for me. Name it. I'm getting threatening messages. I want you to trace them. Find out who's sending them. If it's anyone associated with Marcus or Devon, I want to know. On it. Also, heads up. There are reporters camped outside your house. 3 vans. Last time I drove by? Perfect. Thanks for the warning. I'm staying at my brother's today. Can you swing by my place? Grab my laptop and the files from my office? I need to work, and I can't do that with cameras in my face. Consider it done. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Patricia's office. I arrived early, parking in the underground garage to avoid the media that had already started gathering outside. Patricia was waiting with a PR consultant named Diana Reeves, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who'd handled crisis communications for everyone from politicians to celebrities. Elena Harper, Diana said, shaking my hand. I've reviewed your case. It's actually quite straightforward from a PR perspective. You're a professional investigator who did her job. The personal connection is unfortunate but doesn't change the facts of the case. Tell that to the people calling me a vindictive bitch. Those people don't matter. What matters is controlling the narrative. You're not a scorned wife seeking revenge. You're a professional who was hired to investigate a crime and followed the evidence where it led. The fact that it led to your husband is tragic, but it doesn't make the crime any less real. We spent an hour preparing. Diana coached me on body language, tone, how to deflect personal questions while staying on message. Remember, she said, you're not here to defend yourself. You're here to state facts. You did nothing wrong. You have nothing to apologize for. At 2 p.m., we walked into a conference room packed with reporters. Cameras flashed. People shouted questions before I'd even reached the podium. Patricia raised a hand. Please hold your questions until after Ms. Harper's statement. I stepped up to the microphone, my hands steady, my voice clear. Good afternoon. My name is Elena Harper, and I'm the owner and lead investigator at Harper Investigations. 3 weeks ago, I was hired by Chen Digital Solutions to investigate financial irregularities at their company. In the course of that investigation, I discovered evidence that money was being systematically stolen through a complex network of shell companies and fraudulent transactions. I followed that evidence according to established protocols, obtained proper legal authorization for all surveillance and documentation, and compiled a comprehensive case file. That evidence led to 2 individuals, Devon Hayes and Marcus Hayes. I reported my findings to Chen Digital Solutions and to the FBI. Based on the evidence, both men were arrested yesterday and are currently in federal custody. The fact that Marcus Hayes is my husband does not change the legitimacy of the investigation or the validity of the evidence. I am a licensed private investigator with 8 years of experience. I conducted this investigation with the same professionalism and thoroughness I apply to every case. I will not be making any further public statements about this case or about my marriage. Thank you. The room erupted with shouted questions. Ms. Harper, did you suspect your husband before you were hired? How long have you been lying to your husband about your career? Are you divorcing him? Did you entrap him? Patricia stepped forward. Ms. Harper will take 3 questions only. I pointed to a reporter in the front row, a woman from the Boston Globe. Ms. Harper, critics are saying you had a conflict of interest investigating your own husband. How do you respond? I disclosed the personal connection to my client and to the FBI immediately upon discovering it. The investigation continued with additional oversight to ensure there was no bias. Every piece of evidence was independently verified. The case would hold up regardless of who conducted the investigation. Next question. A man from a local news station. Your husband's attorney is claiming you conducted an illegal wiretap. Can you comment? Every surveillance activity I conducted was either done in a public space where there is no expectation of privacy, or was authorized by a court order. I have documentation for every step of the investigation. There was nothing illegal about my methods. Last question. A younger reporter I didn't recognize. Do you still love your husband? I hesitated. It was the one question Diana had told me not to answer. Too personal. Too emotional. But looking at that room full of people, all of them hungry for some hint of human feeling beneath the professional facade, I decided to answer honestly. I loved who I thought he was, but that person never existed. What I love is the truth. And the truth is that Marcus Hayes committed a crime. My personal feelings about that don't matter. What matters is that justice was served. I stepped away from the podium, Patricia guiding me toward the exit as reporters continued shouting questions. We made it to her office, and I collapsed into a chair. You did well, Patricia said. That last answer was risky, but it humanized you. That's good. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. First press conference is always rough. She poured me a glass of water. Now comes the hard part. Waiting. Waiting for what? For Marcus to make his next move. He's not going to take this lying down, Elena. He's going to fight. And he's going to try to hurt you any way he can. She was right. The next morning, Marcus's attorney filed a motion to suppress all evidence, claiming I'd conducted an illegal investigation motivated by personal vendetta. The motion was 30 pages long, filled with accusations about my character, my methods, and my motives. It painted me as a woman scorned who'd used her professional skills to destroy her husband's life. It claimed I'd planted evidence, manipulated witnesses, and violated his constitutional rights. It was complete bullshit, but it was effective bullshit. Within hours, it was all over the news. Husband claims wife framed him an elaborate revenge scheme. My phone started ringing again. More reporters, more questions, more accusations. I ignored them all and called Monica Santos. I saw the motion, she said before I could speak. It's garbage, pure theater. Marcus's attorney knows he can't win this case on the facts, so he's trying to win it in the court of public opinion. Is it working? Does it matter? A judge is going to decide this case, not Twitter. And we have every piece of documentation showing your investigation was legitimate. Let them file their motions. We'll crush them in court. But it did matter, because public opinion affected my business. Harper investigations depended on discretion, on trust, on reputation. And right now, my reputation was being shredded. That afternoon, I got a call from a longtime client, a law firm I'd worked with for years. Elena, it's Margaret Chen. Her voice was apologetic. We need to talk about the Sullivan case. The Sullivan case was a major insurance fraud investigation, worth 6 figures to my firm. I'd been working on it for 2 months. What about it? The partners had a meeting this morning. With all the publicity around your personal situation, they feel it might be best to transition the case to another investigator. My stomach dropped. Margaret, my personal life has nothing to do with my professional capabilities. I know that. I argued that point, but they're concerned about optics. If this case goes to trial and you're called as a witness, the defense could use your situation to undermine your credibility. So you're firing me. We're not firing you. We're just putting things on hold until the situation resolves itself. After we hung up, I sat in Thomas's guest room, staring at the wall. This was just the beginning. Other clients would follow. Word would spread. The business I'd spent 8 years building could collapse in a matter of weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Karma's a bitch. Enjoy watching your life fall apart. I traced the number. It came back to a burner phone, untraceable. But I had my suspicions about who was behind it. That evening, James Park showed up at Thomas's house with a 6-pack of beer and a folder full of documents. Bad news and worse news, he said, settling onto the couch. Which do you want first? Surprise me. Bad news? 3 more clients have called about suspending their contracts. Word spreading fast. And the worst news? Marcus has been giving interviews from jail. Phone interviews with sympathetic reporters. He's playing the victim card hard. Talking about how you deceived him, how you never trusted him, how this was all a setup from the beginning. He showed me his phone. There was Marcus's face, looking haggard and sympathetic, with a caption, "Betrayed husband speaks out, she never loved me." I felt something crack inside my chest. Anger, hot and bright. He's making himself the victim. He stole $500,000 and he's making himself the victim. Public sympathy is a powerful thing, James said quietly, especially when the alternative is admitting you were a criminal. What do? We don't do anything. We let Patricia and Diana handle the PR. We keep our heads down and focus on the case. The truth will come out in court. And if the court of public opinion destroys my business before we ever get to court? James didn't have an answer for that. Over the next week, things got worse. 2 more clients pulled their contracts. A trade publication ran an article questioning the ethics of investigators who work cases involving family members. Online forums debated whether I should lose my license. And through it all, Marcus kept talking. Every interview painted the same picture: him as the wronged husband, me as the cold, calculating woman who'd married him under false pretenses just to have control over him. Some people believed it. I could see it in the comment sections, in the social media discussions. The narrative was shifting from brave investigator to manipulative wife. I stopped reading the news, stopped checking social media, stopped answering my phone unless I recognized the number. But I couldn't stop Marcus's voice in my head, his accusations, his version of our story. She never loved me. She was always watching, always collecting evidence. Our entire marriage was a lie. Was it? Had I loved him? Or had I just loved the idea of having someone, of not being alone, of having a normal life separate from my work? I didn't know anymore. 10 days after the arrest, I got a call from Richard Chen. Ms. Harper, I wanted to reach out personally. I've been following the news, and I want you to know that my company stands by the investigation you conducted for us. It was thorough, professional, and absolutely crucial in recovering our stolen assets. Thank you, Mr. Chen. That means a great deal. I also wanted you to know that I've spoken with several other business owners in our network. I've recommended your services highly. You did exceptional work, and you deserve recognition for that, not vilification. After we hung up, I felt something loosen in my chest. One voice of support in a sea of criticism. It shouldn't have mattered so much, but it did. That night, Thomas found me in the guest room, staring at my laptop screen. You're reading the comments again, aren't you? I can't help it. It's like watching a car crash. He gently closed the laptop. Elle, you need to stop torturing yourself. These people don't know you. They don't know the whole story. They're just spectators enjoying the drama. They're destroying my reputation. No. Marcus is trying to destroy your reputation. There's a difference. And he's only doing it because you destroyed his freedom. He's lashing out. It's all he has left. I leaned back against the headboard. Did I do the right thing, Thomas? Should I have just walked away? Filed for divorce quietly? Let the FBI handle the investigation? You did your job. That's what you should have done. He sat down on the edge of the bed. Elle, you've spent your entire adult life seeking the truth. You built a career on it. You can't suddenly stop being who you are just because the truth became inconvenient. Even if it costs me everything, it won't cost you everything. It might cost you some clients, some temporary goodwill, but your reputation is built on results, not popularity. The people who matter, the people who actually hire you, they care about whether you can do the job. And you've just proven, in the most dramatic way possible, that you absolutely can. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this would blow over, that my business would survive, that I'd come out of this okay. But late at night, alone in that guest room, I wasn't so sure. My phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. But this time, it wasn't a threat. Ms. Harper, my name is Victoria Cross. I'm the CEO of a tech company in Silicon Valley. I've been following your case with great interest. I believe I have a situation that requires your particular skills. Would you be available for a consultation? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, yes. When and where? Because Thomas was right. I was an investigator. The truth was what I did. It was who I was. And no matter what Marcus said, no matter what the internet thought, I wasn't going to stop. The truth was worth fighting for, even when the cost was everything. Victoria Cross's case turned out to be exactly what I needed. Corporate espionage, complex enough to demand my full attention, high profile enough to rebuild my reputation. I threw myself into the work with an intensity that bordered on obsession, grateful for anything that kept me from thinking about Marcus and the trial looming 3 months away. The investigation took me to San Francisco, then Seattle, then back to Boston. 6 weeks of surveillance, financial analysis, and careful documentation. When I finally delivered the evidence, proof that Victoria's CTO had been selling trade secrets to a competitor, she didn't just pay my invoice, she wrote a public testimonial. Elena Harper is the most thorough, professional investigator I've ever worked with. Her personal situation doesn't diminish her capabilities, it proves them. That testimonial opened doors. Other clients followed. The tide of public opinion began to shift, slowly at first, then faster as the facts of Marcus's case became clearer. Devon took a plea deal, confirming everything I'd found. The offshore accounts, the shell companies, Marcus's role as the mastermind. In exchange for his testimony, he got 8 years instead of 20. Marcus refused to deal. His attorney kept filing motions, kept giving interviews, kept trying to paint me as the villain. But the evidence didn't lie, and juries tend to believe bank records over sob stories. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I testified for 2 days, walking the jury through every step of my investigation. Marcus's attorney tried to rattle me, questioning my motives, my methods, my marriage. "Isn't it true, Ms. Harper, that you were looking for a reason to leave your husband?" "No, I was looking for the truth. I found it. You entrapped him. You set him up to fail. I documented crimes he was already committing. That's not entrapment. That's investigation." The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts: wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, 23 years in federal prison. I wasn't in the courtroom when the verdict was read. I'd done my part. The rest wasn't about me. That evening, I sat in my house again, empty of Marcus's belongings, empty of his lies, and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a quiet sense of completion. My phone rang. "Thomas. You okay?" "Yeah, I think I am." "The verdict was all over the news. 23 years. "I know." "Elle, you did the right thing." "I know that too." After we hung up, I walked through the rooms, seeing them clearly for the first time in months. This house had been a stage set for a performance neither of us had realized we were giving. Marcus playing the successful executive, me playing the supportive wife. Both of us hiding who we really were. The difference was, his hidden self was criminal. Mine was just careful. My laptop chimed. An email from Patricia. "Divorce finalized. You're free." Free. Such a strange word for how I felt. Not liberated, not relieved. Just lighter. Like I'd been carrying weight I didn't know was there until it was gone. 6 months later, Harper Investigations was thriving. Victoria's testimonial had led to a Fortune 500 contract. That contract led to 3 more. My calendar was booked solid for the next year. I hired 2 new investigators, expanded the office, and started teaching a course at the local university. Ethics in Private Investigation. The students loved the real-world case studies. I carefully avoided mentioning the most famous case of all, my own. Marcus's story faded from the headlines. New scandals emerged. The internet moved on to fresh outrage. Occasionally, I'd see a think piece about spousal investigations or the ethics of family betrayal, and my name would resurface briefly. But mostly, people forgot. I didn't forget. I don't think I ever will. But I stopped dwelling on it, stopped questioning my choices. I'd done what needed to be done, and I'd done it right. That had to be enough. One evening, I got a letter. Prison mail. Marcus's handwriting. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity won. Elena, 23 years is a long time to think. I've had a lot of time. You were right. About everything. I was arrogant, stupid. I thought I was smarter than everyone, including you. Especially you. I told Devon you'd never prove it. Those words haunt me now. You proved everything. You were always the smart one. I just never bothered to notice. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking you to visit or write back. I know you won't. I just wanted you to know that I finally see you. The real you. And I'm sorry I never did before. I'm sorry for everything. Marcus. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer with all the other case files. Evidence of a life I used to live. A person I used to be. That night, I met Sarah and Thomas for dinner at a new restaurant downtown. We talked about their kids, about Thomas's upcoming promotion, about Sarah's plan to go back to school. Normal things, family things. You seem good, Elle, Sarah said, studying my face. Really good. I am good, I said, and realized it was true. I'm exactly where I need to be. Walking home later, through the warm spring evening, I thought about Marcus's letter, about his apology, about the years he'd spent in prison, paying for his choices. I didn't hate him. I didn't forgive him either. He was just the past. A chapter that had closed. My phone buzzed. A new client inquiry. A hedge fund manager who suspected his partner of embezzlement. Complex financial forensics, international transactions, exactly the kind of case I was built for. I smiled and typed back. I'm interested. Let's schedule a consultation. Because this was who I was. Elena Harper. Private investigator. Truth seeker. Someone who looked beneath surfaces and found what was hidden. Marcus had said I'd never prove it, but I'd built a career on proving things. On finding truth in lies, patterns in chaos, justice in betrayal. He'd underestimated me. A lot of people had. They wouldn't make that mistake again. I walked up the steps to my house, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. Home. Finally, completely, mine. And I was exactly who I'd always been. Just myself. Finally free to be exactly that. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.